Good morning, or depending on when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and as always told out of Voice of Radio. So today, we need to take a little bit of a look at Morpeko VUnion. Yeah, that's right. There is a new VUnion coming, and I, for one, am absolutely delighted. Because you see, I don't know what's going on with VUnions. It's a little bit out there. We, of course, had that first run of Greninja, Mewtwo, and Zacian that came in their own box in Japan, and then came in their own box over here. We then got Pikachu VUnion, which is in its own celebrations box over here outside of Japan, but in Japan it comes in packs. But it's actually really cool because they've set it up so you always get all 4 parts. The 25th anniversary collection packs in Japan are 5 cards, one of which is an energy. So when you get Pikachu VUnion, you get all 4 parts of the VUnion and a holo energy, and I love that. What we've not seen so far is just a VUnion in a set. But in VMAX Climax, that's all changing. Although, to be fair, it is a high-class pack with larger packs than usual, etc. It's not exactly the same, but I do feel confident in my prediction that if you get Morpeko VUnion in a pack, you will get all 4 sets in the same pack. That to me seems like a pretty sensible suggestion. For what it's worth, over here, I expect it coming in its own box like the other VUnion. I don't think this will be in a set like Brilliant Stars. I do think it's going to be its own thing. So our translation today, you might not be surprised to learn, comes from the lovely Antoine Boulet. And what we've got here is 310 HP, which, yeah, it's a VUnion. What I find interesting is that is kind of in the middle of the VUnions we've seen so far, whereas Morpeko VMAX has 300 HP, which is as low as VMAXs actually get. So Morpeko VUnion has 10 more HP than the VMAX, despite being a VUnion, which generally have slightly lower than we see on VMAXs. Does still give up free prizes though, as you would expect. And remember the VUnion rule for anyone that may have forgotten. The way you play these is getting all 4 parts in your discard pile, and then when that happens, you can just play them straight onto the bench. Worth pointing out that you can only do this once per VUnion per game, so if you've already gone and gotten Morpeko VUnion out, you cannot do it a second time, even if you've got all 4 parts in your discard. And yes, all 4 parts of it are called Morpeko VUnion, which means that you can only play essentially one of each of the 4 corners. So with all of that said, we do have a weakness to fighting, which is actually super annoying, because anything that's weak to fighting, Galarian Zapdos nowadays, unless you can completely avoid playing Pokemon V, Galarian Zapdos becomes a phenomenal counter. But we've got a whole bunch of attacks, and these ones are very fun indeed. So firstly, we've got Union Gain. Union Gain is exactly what we would expect. 1 colourless energy, and you can attach up to 2 lightning energy from your discard pile to this Pokemon. This is the VUnion attack. It's fine, but it's not exactly some kind of stellar thing. You don't really want to leave a free prize Pokemon that's super awkward to get into play in the active, just hoping your opponent doesn't KO it. It's not what you're looking for. What you really want to do is have this out and start smashing, so as cool as this is, meh. We've also got a fairly uninspiring attack. 1 lightning, 2 colourless energy, 160 damage. And the good news is you can use 2 colourless energy, but 160 is just not enough. This is not an attack I can take particularly seriously, because you're not even getting Crobat or Kricketune here. And for me, that's like the minimum level. I want to be getting a KO on those 2, because they are your 180 HP support 2 prize Pokemon that see a bunch of play here and there. If I'm not even getting a 1-hit KO on them, let alone any other Pokemon V, I don't think it's worth really getting excited. Fine as an emergency, but not an attack about which we need to get excited. But the other 2 we absolutely do. It's got an attack for 2 colourless energy, all you can eat, draw cards until you have 10 cards in hand. Yes, this is phenomenal. And I should mention, this is basically a brilliant example of a card where double turbo energy becomes a little bit broken. That's a new card we've seen, which is going to be coming in Brilliant Stars. which provides 2 colourless energy, but means your attacks do 20 damage less. Well, you're not doing any damage with this attack, so that's irrelevant. You just draw till you've got 10 cards in hand. So even if you're not playing a lightning deck, I love the idea of playing this card, this Morpeko VUnion, in any deck that's playing double turbo energy, and essentially what happens is you get Morpeko out, attach double turbo energy, draw till you got 10 cards in your hand, use a double turbo energy to retreat, and then roll. Because drawing till you got 10 cards in your hand, this is what we saw on GX attacks a bunch. We saw it on Drampa GX that did see a huge amount of play. And bearing in mind, we're talking once per game GX attacks. That was shuffle your hand into your deck and draw 10 cards. We saw it on Eevee and Snorlax, which was slightly different again. That one was 210 damage. But if you had 5 energy on, you drew until you had 10 cards in your hand. And we saw it on Rayquaza, which was discard your hand and draw 10 cards. So we had kind of all the different permutations of drawing 10 cards. My point is, this is something we've seen a bunch, and it's generally ended up being a pretty gosh darned good thing. Now, you don't do any damage here, but you're doing the drawing. So the theory here is really simple. It's mid to late game, and one of 2 things is true. Either you need a bunch of cards to set up, this will probably get you everything you need, or you just need that 1 card to win the game, whether that's an energy or whether that's a boss's orders or whatever. And this will get there. Now, if you're playing it with double turbo energy, obviously you've got to get Morpeko on the bench at the same time as you get your double turbo energy. It's not ideal, but it uses colourless energy, so it doesn't have to be double turbo. It can be a whole bunch of different things. And frankly, this is just cool. This is really, really cool. And I'll be honest with you, it might not even be the best thing about the card. Because what we've got here is a rather ridiculous attack. For 1 lightning and 2 colourless energy, you discard all energy attached to this Pokemon and deal 100 damage for each card discarded in this way. It means if you've got things like double turbo energy attached, or you've used something like Electrode to count as 2 lightning energy, you don't get to double up, unfortunately. Which is a little bit sad, but I think you'll probably end up getting over it. This is nuts. Because the thing is, right, if I've got 3 energy on and I discard them all, that's 300 damage. And this isn't your once per game GX attack or V-Star power. This is just a regular attack. If I get rid of 4 energy, that's 400, and that is an easy KO. You know, if you've got something like an Eternatus, which has got the highest natural HP of any Pokemon around right now at 340, and you put something like a Big Charm on there to go and give it an extra 30 HP to put it up to 370, you are still 30 damage above what you need to get the KO here. And that's ridiculous. We do not see many Pokemon that can get 1-hit KOs on VMAXs. It's just not a thing that we generally tend to see. Well, Morpeko does. And that is absolutely ridiculous. Now, I did mention Electrode earlier, and if you attached it as a double energy, it only counts as 1. I'm going to be honest with you, that was an expanded example. It was the Electrode from Evolutions. It's, not the best example. You know what is a much better Electrode? The one from Vivid Voltage. The one that lets you search your deck for up to 2 lightning energy cards and attach them to your lightning Pokemon in any way you like. And sure, you need to KO Electrode and give up a prize to do so, but attachment for turn, Electrode, Morpeko does 300 damage. This is an attack that escalates at an absolutely ridiculous speed. And if you get a 4th energy on there, it's over at that stage. Like, at that stage, you're just winning the game. You don't see many Pokemon that can 1-hit KO VMAXs. This can 1-hit KO VMAXs, and honestly, sometimes you don't even have to try particularly hard. It is absolutely redonkulous. And the fact of the matter is, sure, there are things out there that can hit for weakness, and they'll get you. But outside of that, most VMAXs at the moment don't get big 1-hit KOs. Some of them do. And obviously, you are weak to Single Strike Urshifu, which is going to be bad. Rapid Strike Urshifu will be 10 damage short. However, Rapid Strike Urshifu is going to be playing Inteleon, so there is an argument here that both of the Urshifu, and both of them are seeing a lot of play right now, there is an argument that both of the Urshifu are going to be able to one-hit you quite easily. However, with stuff like this, you shouldn't be leaving it on the bench and building it up over the course of like 3 or 4 turns. This should be a play it and smash thing. Maybe it's with Electrode, maybe it's with Flaffy. Now, Flaffy decks at the moment haven't ended up being particularly good. They have been slightly underwhelming. And part of that is things like Rapid Strike Urshifu just running through them. But the fact of the matter is, Flaffy accelerates lightning energy 1 per turn per Flaffy. And this is just... it's so much damage relevant to the amount of energy you're putting on there. Like, if you get a KO with this and you don't get KO'd back, and you can accelerate more energy next turn, that's the entire game in 2 turns. As soon as you get Morpeko rolling, it's a 2-turn victory. KO 2 VMAXs, and roll. Goodness me, ladies and gentlemen. Goodness me. And maybe it's Electrode, maybe it's Flaffy, maybe it's something else. My point here is that if you can start accelerating energy fast enough, this is nuts. It's a little bit of a shame because pre-rotation, we had a whole bunch of lightning support and Tapu Koko and all of that. That has all unfortunately gone away. But any lightning energy acceleration is going to make this card a bit ridiculous. Any lightning energy acceleration, we're always going to have to look at Morpeko. And if Rayquaza VMAX ever becomes a good deck, this is about the easiest decision ever to actually put in a deck with it, because this is a closer. This is an absolutely ridiculous closer. I'm giving this 5 Wassies. I worry at the moment that we might not have quite the lightning support we've had in the past to really make the most of it. But make no mistake about it, it's got a 2 energy colorless attack that lets you draw until you got 10 cards in your hand, which is nuts. And then you've got an attack which can deal like hundreds, even thousands of damage, and this gets really silly really quickly. And I should mention, you do always have that first attack. The one that accelerates 2 energy. And you might not want to use it, and that's fine. But it always remains there as an option, and I do think that needs to be borne in mind. I am extremely excited about this, ladies and gentlemen, but I want to know how you feel. So let me know in the comment section, would ya? Go nuts! Be nice! And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at @TheWasi, and Twitch for some live action at twitch.tv/PTCG Radio. If you want to support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and all that good stuff, head on over to patreon.com/PTCG Radio, where you can do exactly that. But by far the most important thing, as always, look after yourselves till next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.